FPL Game Week 9 Team Selection. What is up everyone, how's it going? FPL Era here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Well then, Game Week 8, what can we say? Definitely the less of the better about last week. Over 14 seasons I've been playing this game and I've honestly never experienced a game week like it, especially when I had the wildcard activated at all. So if you follow me on social media, you know what's coming with the Game Week 8 review. But in today's video, we're going to have a look at how I fared out in Game Week 8, and we're also going to be looking at my transfer plans and team selection ahead of Game Week 9. Surely it can't be any worse than Game Week 8. Let's get into the video. So before we get into today's video, quick reminder, as always, drop the video a like and let's hit the like goal of 80 likes on this video. So head on down there, give the video a like, and if you are watching this and you're not subscribed, if this is your first time coming across the channel, first off, welcome to the channel, but you know what to do, head on down there, click subscribe. We're trying to hit 7k subs before Christmas. We're just over 200 subs off hitting this milestone. We've a job on to get across the line, but with your support, we can definitely get there. Right then, with that out of the way, the Game Week 8 review, 27 points of the week. I know, we've had a shocker, we've had an absolute shocker on the wildcard. If I didn't wildcard last week, I would have kept Mo Salah and Morgan Rogers in the starting 11, so I'm 20 points worse off from using the wildcard. But the team is well set up for the next few weeks, so we can't judge the wildcard off 1 week. We're going to have to judge it off the next couple of weeks. But for now, yeah, 27 points. Everything that could have went wrong. Only 2 players returning. Phil Foden, who didn't even start the game, but I was glad to see him come on late and get that assist for John Stone's winner. And then Chris Wood brought an okay end to the game week after he scored against Crystal Palace. I've Dean Henderson to thank for that goal then as well. But 9 players blanking on the wildcard. Absolutely horrible week for the team. I was around the 600k mark. I've nearly pretty much doubled my rank. I'm now at 1.1 million overall. Yeah, the less said the better at Game Week 8. I think it's time to move on and let's start planning ahead for Game Week 9. As I said, surely it can't be any worse than Game Week 8. But let's move on and start planning ahead. So looking ahead to Game Week 9, here's a clean sheet odds ahead of the weekend's games, and there's no surprise to see Man City top the charts with a 55% chance of keeping a clean sheet at home to Southampton on Saturday. Surprisingly, Man City have only kept 1 clean sheet all season, but you'd surely expect them to get their second of the season against a very poor Southampton side. Vardiol owners will be happy to see him rested in the Champions League last night, so you'd probably expect him to get another return this weekend. Myself and other Rico Lewis owners will be hoping he's not subjected to pep roulette, and fingers crossed we can finally get our first offensive return of the season and maybe even a sneaky attacking return too. Brighton are up next and second at home to Wolves, and they've got a 36% chance of keeping a clean sheet in this game. To be honest, I wouldn't read too much into this second place ranking for Brighton. Fair enough, Wolves haven't been good on the defensive front, but they've definitely been pretty decent on the attacking front, only failing to score in 1 game week this season, so I wouldn't be too surprised to see this Brighton clean sheet wiped out this weekend. And then Flecken owners will be happy to see Brentford have a 36% chance of keeping a clean sheet against Ipswich at home this weekend. I have Vandenberg in my team, so I could be tempted to play him this weekend, especially if I don't want to double up on the Arsenal defence with Saliba out this weekend. But I have a few decisions to make on here, and we'll chat about that later on in the video. Moving on to predict the points ahead of Game Week 9, even though he has blanked in his last 3 games, there's still no surprise to see Erling Haaland top the charts with a predicted point score of 8.1 points in that very favourable fixture against Southampton. Only twice before has Erling Haaland gone 3 games without a goal for Man City. After the first run, he scored 4 goals in the next 2 games, and after the second run, he scored 5 goals in the next 3 games. So I'm predicting a big return from this weekend. We'll chat about whether or not we're going to triple captain him later on in the video also. At the time of this recording, Erling Haaland has literally just scored a second goal in the Champions League. I can see the replay on the TV here beside me, so you could argue he's definitely back in form ahead of that game at the weekend. I've got a decision to make on my triple captaincy chip. Moving on to Cole Palmer in second, he's got a predicted point score of 7.1 points at home to Newcastle this weekend. I expect a nice return from this weekend with Newcastle slightly out of form over the last few weeks. He was fairly unlucky not to score in that Liverpool game at the weekend. I brought him in the wildcard last week, took out Mo Salah, so he's got some making up to do for me this weekend. Brian Mbeumo completes the top 3 with a predicted point score of 6.1 points at home to Ipswich. He did blank against Man United in Game Week 8. I would still be expecting to get a return this weekend. He has been in great form this season. 6 goals in the opening 8 games, and I will be expecting to make him at 7 in 9. Vardiol owners will be happy to see him ranked 4th, just missing out in the top 3 with a predicted point score of 6 points in that Southampton game this weekend. As I said, I am a Rico Lewis owner. I'm not too fussed about his predicted points. I just want to make sure he's in that starting 11 come 2 o'clock on Saturday, and if he is, I should be expecting some points from him, and hopefully we do see him in that starting 11. The big question on FPL managers' lips this weekend is whether or not they should be given the triple captaincy in that very favourable fixture against Southampton. We all know he has blanked in his last 3 games, Over these 3 games against Wolves, Fulham and Newcastle, he's received 0 big chances, and 0 big chances received has definitely affected his returns. There's no doubt Man City have been a lot less creative over the last 3 games also, especially with injuries to Rodri definitely affecting their attacking output, and Kevin De Bruyne still sidelined, and Phil Foden yet to come back into that starting 11. All these factors have definitely impacted their creativity. They've only accumulated an average of 0.7 big chances created over the last 3 games compared to 3.6 in the 5 previous games before that. Over the last 3 games, Fulham, Newcastle and Wolves all effectively swarmed defenders around Haaland and crowded him out and stopped the supply. And if you stop the supply to Haaland, you pretty much stop him from returning then as well. If you look back to the Fulham game, they needed 2 outside the box goals from Kovacic and a goal from a set piece. They did score 3, but Haaland didn't have a chance at all in that game. And if you go back to that Wolves game also at the weekend, they needed a Vardy goal from outside the box and then a last minute winner from Stones from a set piece. Every shot was being taken outside the box. Sa accumulated 5 saves at the weekend and Haaland didn't have a chance also. Moving away from Haaland's last 3 blanks and looking ahead to that Southampton game at the weekend, good news for Man City that Phil Foden returned to the starting 11 last night. He picked up a goal in that Champions League game, so I do expect him to keep his spot, and that's some good news for the chance of getting some chances created for Haaland. Also, some good news is that Kevin De Bruyne is eyeing up a return this weekend, and if De Bruyne is back in the starting 11, you'd surely expect Haaland to get some returns with some big chances being created with their link-up play. Then that leads us on to City's opposition in Southampton. They've already conceded 18 goals in the first 8 games, which puts them second for most goals conceded in the league. And to add to that, they've conceded 3 goals in each of their last 3 games. Looking at the City game, I could probably see City scoring 3, 4, maybe even 5 plus goals. And that brings us on to the main question. Should we be triple captain him? Am I going to triple captain him this weekend? As of now, I'm scratching my head. But no, I'm not going to triple captain him as of now. That could change before the deadline. But just his poor form as of late. He did score twice in the Champions League last night, so you could argue he is back in form ahead of that Southampton game at the weekend. But for now, I'm probably looking to save it for double game week later on in the season. There's no right answer, right or wrong answer as of now. Hindsight's going to be a great thing come 5 o'clock on Saturday evening. But for now, I'm not triple captaining him. But as I said, that could change before the deadline. So looking at my team ahead of the weekend's games, starting off, I've gone with David Raya in goals, up against Liverpool at home this weekend. Look, he's not the most ideal fixtures coming up against Liverpool, Newcastle and Chelsea over the next 3. I brought in Raya on the wild card in the hopes he would get that clean sheet against Bournemouth. Saliba's red card didn't help out the situation, and it's not going to help out the chances of a clean sheet this weekend. I've David Raya in goals, not expecting too much, probably a few save points. Slight chance he might get a clean sheet, I'm not hopeful of it if Arsenal shut up shop, especially with Saliba being out. But let's see how he gets on. He's in goals for now. So moving on to the back 3, Gabriel is in the team, and that means I am doubling up on the Arsenal defence in that Liverpool game. As I said, I'm not too hopeful of a clean sheet for Arsenal in that game, but with Gabriel, every time Arsenal get a set piece, there's every chance he can come away with a return, so that's why he's in the team, just on as attacking threat. Looking at the rest of the defence then, looking at Rico Lewis, he did play 90 minutes in the Champions League last night, so I'm crossing everything that he isn't affected by Pep Roulette at the weekend. Walker is still out with an injury, so surely Rico Lewis gets a start, and if he does get that start in the Southampton game, I'll be confident of a return from him. Aït-Nouri completes my 3-man defence, and he is up against an informed Brighton side, so I'm not hopeful of a clean sheet. Wolves have been very poor defensively since the start of the season, but they have been decent on the attacking front. Aït-Nouri has got 2 goals and 2 assists since the start of the season, so have him on the team, like Gabriel, on the basis of an attacking threat, and hopefully he can get something this weekend. That's a 3-man defence and the goalkeeper out of the way. Let's move on to the midfield. So moving on to my midfield, I'm very confident of some good returns this weekend. 4 home fixtures for the 4 lads in midfield. Foden up against Southampton, Rodgers up against Bournemouth, Palmer up against Newcastle and Mbeumo up against Ipswich. These are all fixtures these lads can easily return well in. Starting off with Foden, I know he didn't start that game against Wolves, which was very disappointing, but I was grateful to see him come on and get that assist. He was back in the starting 11 last night in that Champions League game where he did pick up a goal. It was good to see him playing in that number 10 role, and with Doku and Grealish set to be sidelined for the next couple of days, surely that means Foden gets a start this weekend, and if he does, I do think it's a fixture he can return well in. Moving on to the rest of midfield, Morgan Rogers picked up another assist in the Champions League during the week, so he's in flying form, and I expect him to carry this form into that Bournemouth game at the weekend. Cole Palmer up against Newcastle at home. I'm really looking forward to that Newcastle fixture for Cole Palmer. He was very unlucky not to get a return against Liverpool at the weekend, and I do hope he can get something after bringing him in on the wild card and getting rid of Salah. And then Brian Mbeumo up against the Ipswich side, who are conceding for fun, so wouldn't be surprised to see Mbeumo get a nice return in that game too. So 4 very favourable fixtures for my 4 men in midfield. I just need to make sure Foden gets that start in that Southampton game, and I'm confident of some good returns in midfield. Famous last words, maybe it's going to be a Foden bench and Palmer missed penalty, Morgan Rogers yellow card and then Mbeumo blank. Hopefully it won't be, and hopefully we do get some good returns after that horror show in Game Week 8. Let's move on to the strikers. Moving up front, Erling Haaland, Dominic Solanke and Chris Wood complete my starting 11. And starting off with Erling Haaland, we've already spoke about him and whether or not we're going to use a triple captaincy chip on him. Make sure to tune into my YouTube deadline stream on Friday even before the deadline, where we'll be locking in my team and we will be locking in my decision on whether or not I am going to use a triple captaincy. On to Chris Wood then as well. He's a bit of a cheat code at the moment. 4 goals in his last 6 games, and he's up against a Leicester side who are conceding goals freely at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised to see him get another return on Friday night. Dominic Solanke completes my starting 11, and I brought him in on the wildcard last week with the hopes of getting some good returns over Spurs' favourable fixture run. It's pretty annoying to see him play deep in that West Ham game, and he failed to get a return while Heung-min Son stole the headlines in that game. But he's up against a Crystal Palace side this weekend who are conceding for fun, so fingers crossed that he can get a return in that game to make up for his blank last week. As you can see from the team here also, I'll be looking to save my transfer this week. The team is well set up. I know we had the shock of a game week in Game Week 8, but the team is well set up, so hopefully the wildcard was the right decision. If you've made it to the end of this video, please give it a like, drop a comment below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let's hit a like goal of 80 likes on this video, so head on down there, drop the video a like, and if you are watching this and you're not subscribed, you know what to do. Head on down there, click subscribe. We're trying to hit 7k subs before Christmas. We're just over 200 subs off hitting this 7k milestone, and with your help we can definitely get over the line. I'll see you all on Friday evening for a deadline stream right before the deadline, where I'll be deciding whether or not I'll be using a triple captaincy chip and be locking in my team. Thanks for watching, best of luck for the week, I'll see you in the next video.